Okay, so this is the second piece of content on this path. We're going to do 4 in total. This is a second on creativity and innovation with Philippe. And this one, we're going to start now looking. In the first one, we talked to creating a compelling case to actually get it and get back to doing it and injecting it and allowing the time for it. In this one, we're now going to look at, well, how to, right? Because it's such a big topic. There's so many broad things. The idea of creativity, it literally could be anything and everything. So, Philippe, what would be some initial positioning here? Like, how do you've decided you agree that you want to be creative, more innovative. How do you begin that journey for yourself and in your business?
Well, there are a number of answers to that question, but one of the tools I would use to really step back a tiny bit from the business and the immediate needs, it's a tool that I named the initial question. So if you have a product or a service today, that is the answer of a question you had years ago, decades ago, or even sometime longer. And so you need to go back to what was that question, and then try to assess if that question is still relevant for the current times, because that's very important. So you can have a product that is still relevant, but the question is completely irrelevant. And then you need to reframe that question for the current time, and then that will very often, if not all the time, lead to some innovative ideas for new products and services. So if I want to give you a bit of context, because that's a bit brainy and a bit theoretical, but let's say I have here my office and there's a door here that is closed. So the door is an answer to a question that happened for mankind many, centuries ago.
Centuries, yes.
And probably the first door were probably for the fortress in order to protect from invasion, everything. So the question was, how do we protect ourselves from invading tribes, And that was the question. And then the answer was the door. And then that moved into, okay, if we have that system now, so that the product, can we adapt that product to other things? And today you have doors for all parts of your house, but they answer different questions today. So let's say the door for the bathroom, the question could be, how can we maintain the heat and the moisture just inside the bathroom? If you have the main front door from your house, it's like, how can we welcome people and still protect our house? If you have the door from the master bedroom, it's like, well, how maybe can we protect intimacy in that way?
And
what is very surprising is that you already have identified 3 questions, and yet the answer is the same. You have exactly the same door here, there, and over there. So you can see that if you just reframe that question, and with the current knowledge and technology that we have, that would be quite easy to provide different answers that would be more specific to the current needs of the people today. So that's called the initial question.
What I love about that, right, because it ties in, we're talking to this relative to creativity, and yet I would say that this is very similar to even, let's say, sales, right? Because I always say that if I was only allowed to train, the sales methodology is an entire process. There's lots of many things, blend strategy, soft skills, and technology. But I often say that if I was only ever allowed to train one specific aspect of that entire process and one skill with people, it would be the ability to ask better questions and genuinely be interested in the answers. Because therein, if you assume you know your products and all the rest of it, if you know what's going on for the other party, you can position and find an appropriate solution. It's the same thing. It's the question. Also, though, as you were describing it, what I find is what I love there, and it also ties into the same, which is it isn't just one question either. There might be multiple questions, and it's the ability to identify what is the best questions to ask that provokes our creative thinking and solution mindset as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. It really ties to your point, which is asking better questions. And the beauty of that exercise of the initial question is that it really helps you reframe what you're currently doing in business. And then, I mean, pretty much all the time, you're left with a world of possibilities and options that you can explore.
Completely. So let's get a bit more specific then. So, what would be some specific methods then? You start asking yourself the question, is there any other considerations or specific tools beyond the questioning of how people can then start to get on that journey, even of starting to come up with the creative ideas?
Yeah. I think the other aspect that I have in mind is not so much a tool, but more like a cultural statement or something, which is everything that is around trust, making sure that you have safety to speak and to speak out your ideas. So very often in different companies, it can be hard for someone to step up and voice what they think the next move should be, because they are in a different department or they don't feel that they have the authorization. And sometimes when they voice an idea, they are put down by colleagues, managers, or you know, that's not the plan and everything. And that really kills and prevents creativity.
Yeah.
So again, you need to understand that if you want your business to really innovate and be creative, you're going to have 20 bad ideas out there, and one of them may be a good business case, you know.
And
so
have the trust.
You need to allow those 20 bad ideas to unfold so that the good one can also occur. So I think this whole idea that you need to trust your team, you need to trust that they have the good of the business in mind and they want to do well.
Absolutely. I think from my side, when I think about that, it provokes me. It's the breaking the mindset and fixed mindsets. Some people, let's say even where there are environments where there's trust, and I know when I do creativity as part of my 5C model, you might have an environment of trust and yet people are still blocked from creativity. But now it's not the trust, it's not the external fear, it's their internal mindset of limiting beliefs and fixed mindsets. And the classic example to talk to here is the Ames room, right? And I'm sure you know the Ames room is where the floors are warped. Like when you look through a pier hole in an Ames room, it looks like one person is giant and one is very small. And you're going, how can this be? But then when you walk into the Ames room, you actually realize it's because the floors are slanted, the lines aren't linear, it's not perpendicular, one person's closer. So now your brain knows that. Your brain even now knows that because it's seen the logical, factual evidence. Okay, it's a trick of the mind. You go back around, you peer through the Ames hole again, you look in, and still your brain is telling you that there's a tall person and somebody small, even though you know that it's a trick of the mind. And that is one of the classic examples of a fixed mindset. But we have lots of them. And we might have fixed mindsets that block our creativity. I mean, the one we referenced in actually the first video, and again here, is some people tell themselves they're not creative. That is the fixed mindset. And until you move and shift through that, it becomes hard to be creative anyway and trust your own ideas.
Definitely. I think self-trust is definitely a good point. The trust of the tribe or the organization is also very, very important. So I think it's a cultural shift and a mindset shift, as you were mentioning.
Yeah. I think for a quick tool from me, we'll come down to some practicals. I know things like the Torrance drawing test is always a good one. I like doing that. The Torrance drawings test is where you've just got a couple of unfinished shapes on a piece of paper and then you just finish the drawing. And it's amazing when you do that in groups because obviously everybody comes up with a different story and some are very, back to the painting style, some are very, very specific. You can tell it's a house, some it's so weird and abstract, but all of them are creative. Which one's correct? Well, they all are because it's a creative journey. And even more simple things like, this is why crossword puzzles and games and things like this are designed because they're designed to engage your creative mind. And the more you can play, I think the big word there I come down to is just play, right? The more you can allow yourself to play with creativity is the more you start to trust in the creative process for yourself.
I think there are a couple of tools that can really add on to what you just mentioned, Mark, is if you really want to be creative, it's like a muscle. So you need to exercise that muscle. So it means that you need to have some consistent work around creativity and curiosity. And the beauty of that consistent work, like anything that you will do consistently, it builds up like a compound interest curve. So it could be like the 10,000 hour rule or something like this, but it doesn't have to be that much. If you still exercise your creativity and your curiosity output, then eventually you're going to find more ideas and going to get better at it.
Yes.
So consistently is definitely a very, very easy way and a very good way to get all your employees engaged.
And that curve ramps up.
Yes.
The more comfortable you get, then you do more of it in less time and all these benefits. So let's some great ideas. So if we simplify that again, Philippe, I like this idea of what's one thing from that. We've talked several ideas of the how-to. You know, we've certainly danced around that trust and practical ideas around that. Trust within the tribe, trust yourself, break your mindset. But come down to one practical thing you would say to hone on. If there's one thing, how to be creative, what would you say?
I think the initial question is such a powerful tool that I would probably, keep this one on top of the list.
Nice. That's where we start on your one. And for me, I would probably stick with the break your fixed mindsets about you're not creative. I think that for me, that's that one. Fantastic. So now we've covered a compelling video one, covered a reason why, two compelling case to be creative. This one has been how to. We're going to come back shortly and do the third one. And that's going to be, okay, we've got all these creative ideas now. We've started to play. We're trusting each other. Which ones do we bring to life, right? That really is the $1 million question. So we'll come back and tackle into that one next. Thanks, Philippe.